Welcome in, hockey fans. You found the neutral zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight, a little bit of everything. Evander, Patrick, rules the Oilers to a win. Some Connor McDavid accolades to talk about. NCAA men's and women's hockey tournament. Rangers blank the Preds. Panthers Blitz the Canadiens. All that and more. NHL Superstar Roundup as well. All that and more coming up next on the Neutral Zone. Stay out of the boards. Protect your 5-hole. Let's go. Welcome into the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Zach Puplis. Adam Karnick has the night off. Lots to get into tonight, like always. We're going to go around the league and check the scores and see what's going on. Plus lots of recaps from the past couple days and the last weekend and NHL Superstar Roundup to talk about, some Connor McDavid accolades, plus some college game as well. But before we do that, let's get into our little housekeeping like we always do before we get too far into the week's news. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. With that being said, we want to thank our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, as well as Anonymous. If you're listening live, you can follow along in the chat room on Spreaker. You can also find us after the fact, anywhere where you get your podcasts. Okay, let's see. Lots to get into tonight. Let's go with the oldest one, shall we? NHL Superstar Roundtable. Changing playoffs, next expansion teams, and cheat meals. This is from February 6th, ESPN.com. The NHL All-Star Game brought together 44 of hockey's greatest players, offering an ideal chance to gather their opinions on a variety of topics on and off the ice. Here are 13 All-Stars on whether they'd change NHL rules for the Stanley Cup playoff format, where they'd add the next expansion franchise, their favorite non-hockey athlete, cheat meals, and other points of interest. But first we asked them to give some love to their own teammates. Player on your own team who is underrated or underappreciated. Rasmus Dahlin from the Buffalo Sabres says, I would say Casey Middlestat is never getting any credit. He's always doing the right things out there. Josh Morrissey from the Winnipeg Jets. He says Connor Hellebuck. Actually, I know he's here as an all-star, and he has that recognition, but we're not in the place where we are without him every single night. Especially as a defenseman, I appreciate how good he is and what he does for our team. Mitch Marner, Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know if it's underrated, but obviously number 88, William Nylander. Just what he's done this year has been awesome to be a part of. He's made our team very successful. I don't know if it's undercover or anything, but Willie's obviously done some great things for us. And lastly, Johnny Gaudreau, Columbus Blue Jackets. You've got Nick Blankenberg, Kent Johnson, Yegor Chinakhov, and there's Kirill Marchenko. I think they have the opportunity and the ability to be at all-star weekends like this. All right, should the NHL expand the playoff field? Nathan McKinnon, Colorado Avalanche. I think I'd keep it at 16 teams. You have to make it really hard to make it. I think 16 is a good number. 8 and 8. Brock Nelson from the New York Islanders. I like it the way it is. I don't know how much more expanding it would bring to it, but I'm open-minded. Andrei Svechnikov, Carolina Hurricanes. I think 16's good. You got to deserve the spot in the playoffs. That's the reality. Troy Terry, Anaheim Ducks. I think more, as a sports fan in general, like watching the NBA format. I think it would be fun to watch it that way. It does bring an extra round of excitement. It's not a full 7-game series, but I think when they play one game in the elimination format in that little play-in game, I think it's exciting. Chandler Stevenson from the Vegas Golden Knights says, I think 16's good. You're pretty beat up and exhausted all at the end of it. It's a good sweet spot that they found. Morrissey says that's an interesting proposition. There's an argument around how deep our league is now and all that parity. If you look at the league, look at the teams just outside the playoffs, there's some teams that if they got in could challenge. You see that every year. It could be an option for sure, but I think that's out of my jurisdiction. All right, should the NHL expand again? And if so, what city deserves a team? Nazem Kadri says, formerly of Colorado, now with Calgary. Anywhere in Canada, really. Quebec is always interesting for a lot of people, but I'd like to see a bigger town too, like maybe Houston. Expand the game and market the game in a big state. Chandler Stevenson from the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, that's a tough one. I haven't done a whole lot of traveling. I guess somewhere tropical, just being in South Florida. Obviously, a hockey team is here with this weather, and in Vegas, one of the things you love about the weather is how nice it is. Dylan Larkin, Detroit Red Wings. I'd love to see an NHL game in Mexico City, whether it's a global series or whatever. Troy Terry, Anaheim Ducks. I went to Quebec City when I was a peewee. That was always a city I found really cool. I think there's even a new rink there now. But regardless, just the city and the history and everything I found really cool. Seth Jones from the Chicago Blackhawks. I'll stick with America. Shoot, I don't know. Somewhere warm weather, I'd imagine. Maybe Hawaii? The travel would be insane. I was trying to make it more realistic. Morrissey says, it would be nice to see more teams in Canada. Quebec City has been wanting one for a while. I've heard Houston tossed around. When I played in the minors, Austin was a great city. It's growing like crazy, too. Nelson says, I'd say Houston. I'm a big fan of Dallas, so let's go with Houston. Johnny Gaudreau, I got to play in Quebec at the 2016 World Cup of Hockey for an exhibition game. They had awesome fans. It was a great city to play in. So I think that'd be pretty cool. And lastly, Andrei Svechnikov. Good question. Anywhere in the U.S.? It's a hard one, to be honest, because I only go where we're playing against other teams. Commissioner for a day, what rule do you change? Mitch Marner. I think all the rules make a lot of sense, but if you wanted it to be a bit crazy, you could definitely do no offside and have it kind of free-flowing and people cheating a little more for offense and maybe get the games a little more offensive. Jones says, I would change the shootout, extend the overtime, make overtime 10 minutes, keep it 3-on-3. I think you'd see a lot of games end. And Nelson says, I actually think extending overtime would be pretty cool. All right, what's your go-to cheat meal? Mitch Marner says, this body can eat a lot of cheat meals, I'll be honest with you. It burns a lot of calories. I can eat a lot. So the go-to cheat meal is always a burger for me, from Five Guys or Burger Priest. Nice bacon cheeseburger always fills my spot. Nelson suggests Chick-fil-A, spicy chicken, and some fries. Can't pass up the waffle fries. Fiala says, there's a lot I like in L.A. So many good Mexican restaurants. But I like In-N-Out, you know. I like to get it after games sometimes. Just a standard double burger. Lastly, Morrissey says, well, you know, it's all about trying to get pucks in deep. But there are definitely times you can enjoy a cheat meal. I think the usual stuff, some pizza. I also have a little bit of a sweet tooth, so I try to stay away from that before it gets the better of me. Not so much a candy guy as pastries and things like that. And lastly, who's a non-hockey athlete you love? Some of the names thrown out here. LeBron, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Steph Curry. Some World Cup like soccer players. Jalen Hurts, Joel Embiid and the Sixers. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods again. Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal. Who else? Again, another vote for Tiger, Rory McIlroy, Steph Curry. So all kinds of different, other athletes and other sports that people look up to. Okay, so let's look at the action tonight around the league, see how everybody's doing. While we get that pulled up, let's look at Connor McDavid. He is, quote, the best player in the world as he hits career-high 124 points. Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid scored twice to push his NHL leading goal total to 54 and set a career high with 124 points during a 3-2 victory over the Buffalo Sabres recently. McDavid continued making a case to win his third Hart Trophy for MVP in 8 seasons with his 12th multi-goal game of the season, helping the Oilers to a pivotal 2 points in a clogged Western Conference playoff race. The finish was all-world, Edmonton coach Jay Woodcroft said of McDavid, scoring the go-ahead goal on the fly by beating Craig Anderson through the legs 3 minutes and 23 seconds into the third period, and less than 2 minutes after the Sabres tied the game at 2. McDavid's 124 points in 65 games are one more than the career best he set in 80 games last year. And the All-Star center extended the point streak to 11 games in which he's had 12 goals and 15 assists. I saw someone that was competitive right from the puck drop, Woodcroft said. Connor's at a different evolutionary stage in his game right now, and I think everyone saw that here tonight. A crowd from an Eastern Conference city that doesn't often get to see McDavid in person appeared to have gotten their money's worth, though the hometown Sabres failed to pick up 2 points in their fight for a wildcard berth. Quote, who's more likely to make a big play than him? Teammate Zach Hyman said. He's the best player in the world, and he's pushing his own boundaries. He's been driving the bus for a long time and continues to get better. Derek Ryan also scored, and Stuart Skinner stopped 37 shots for the Oilers, who improved to 5-4-3 in their past 12 and bounced back from a 7-5 loss at Winnipeg on Saturday. Jeff Skinner and Dylan Cozens scored for the Sabres, and Anderson stopped 34 shots. Buffalo is in the midst of an NHL worst 11-season playoff drought, but remains in the mix and has games in hand in most of its competition. The Oilers had moved up into a tie with Seattle for third place in the Pacific Division. After opening the scoring in the first period, McDavid scored the go-ahead goal early in the third period, shortly after Cozens had tied the game. Warren Foegele drove up the left wing to gain the Sabres zone and then spun to hit McDavid in stride, cutting up the middle. McDavid veered to his left to get by defender Jacob Bryson and snapped a shot through Anderson's legs. It was McDavid's 9th game-winning goal of the season after he began the day in a 4-way tie for second and one behind teammate Leon Draisaitl. McDavid and the Oilers will take... this is dated, but their next game after that was they were taking on the NHL best Boston Bruins. All right. Let's see what's going on around the league tonight. That still doesn't seem to load. But, all right, we have more action on the Oilers. Evander Kane's second hat trick of the season fuels Oilers' win from this past Saturday. Evander Kane stressed the importance of what it means to be a volume shooter, with the great irony being he only needed just 3 shots for a hat trick. Holy crap. The consistently prolific winger's hat trick led the Edmonton Oilers to a 6-4 victory Saturday against the Seattle Kraken. For Kane, this was his 6th career hat trick and his 2nd this season. Quote, it's nice to help contribute to an important win, obviously, said Kane, who scored 3 times November 1st in a 7-4 win against the Nashville Predators as well. Something about the Preds, man. Go figure. Oh, sorry, this other one was against the Kraken. Just kidding. It's big points with the division so tight. I've been in and out of the lineup with injuries all year, so just trying to get into some rhythm headed into the playoffs, and tonight definitely did that. What makes seeing Kane's latest exploits potentially promising for the Oilers is the context it provides. Kane, indeed, has endured an injury-riddled season that began with him missing more than 9 weeks after his wrist was deeply cut. Ooh, ow. More than 9 weeks after his wrist was deeply cut by a skate blade in November, only to return in January before sustaining another injury in February that kept him sidelined until March 9th. Kane's first goal was a wrist shot from the top left faceoff circle that beat Kraken goaltender Philip Grubauer, who left the game in the second period with non-COVID illness, on the Oilers' first shot of the game. His second goal was a byproduct of a loose puck recovered by Oilers captain Connor McDavid, who fed a centering cross-ice pass that Kane converted on a one-timer for a 3-1 lead with 19:17 left in the second period. The Kraken rallied to cut the lead to 4-3 until the third period, when Kane flew down the left side of the ice and fired another wrist shot that sailed over the glove of Kraken goalie Martin Jones for a 5-3 advantage with 9:40 remaining in the game. Quote, "It's just about getting opportunities and putting myself in position to get pucks. Shooting the puck more," Kane said. "I only had 3 shots tonight. I'm a volume shooter, and getting more shots gives you a better opportunity to get more pucks in the net." Part of what makes the Oilers one of the challengers to win the Western Conference is that they lead the NHL with 3.91 goals per game. It's an attack that's led by McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, who are the first and second in scoring. Yet one of the details that can possibly make the Oilers even more formidable is when they can tap into their players such as Kane, an 8-time 20-goal scorer who came into this season with 4 straight campaigns of more than 20 goals. Injuries are why Kane has been held to just 13 goals and 24 points in 29 games. But the idea that the Oilers have another top 6 forward who's averaging .83 points per contest, in addition to what they have received from others such as Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, adds to the belief that they could be one of the more dangerous teams to face once the postseason starts. Quote, "Happy for him. He's a warrior. He plays through injuries," Oilers coach Jay Woodcroft said. "He's just getting up and running again because of all his injuries, and it's been a start-stop season for him. But he's been all around the puck in any game that he's played, and for 3 of them to go in tonight, I was happy." Then there's what this latest win means for the Oilers in terms of playoff seeding in what has been a rather chaotic Western Conference landscape. Any team that is either occupying a playoff spot or is trying to chase one down knows how quickly the dynamic can change. A team that can lead their division on the conference one night could be a wild card spot barely 7 days later because the margins are that tight. Entering Saturday, the Kraken and the Oilers were separated by a single point, with the Oilers holding on to the 3rd Pacific Division playoff spot, while the Kraken had one of the West's 2 wildcard openings. Kane's efforts mean that the Oilers have won 7 of their past 10 games to build what is now a 3-point edge ahead of the Kraken, while being 4 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights for the division lead and the best record in the conference. In terms of the Kraken, the NHL's newest team are 2 points ahead of the Winnipeg Jets, who are in the 2nd wildcard spot, and 5 points clear of the Calgary Flames and the Predators. Another quote from Woodcroft: "What we do in Edmonton is we try to focus on our daily process. We don't standings watch. We don't tie ourselves in knots with who won last night and who didn't win and what that means for us. We just want to be the best we can be that day and take care of that day's business. I think by having that type of mindset, you don't spend a lot of your energy worrying about things beyond your own control." You worry about what is in control, and tonight our task was to get 2 points in a tough building, and we were able to do that. He's got the right mindset. I mean, just do the best you can every single day. And, control what you can control. You can't control what other teams do. Okay, let's try this again here. Well, we're going to catch a break. You are listening to The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be back.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back to the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, I'm your host, Zach Publis. Adam Karnick has the night off. All right, so let's get into some scores around the league tonight. Panthers and Flyers are in the third period. Panthers lead 5-3, or Flyers lead 5-3, my bad. Third period as well for the Bruins and Senators. Bruins lead 2-1. At the end of 3, it looks like Montreal has beaten Tampa Bay 3-2. In the first overtime, we got Devils and Wild tied at 1. In the third period, Rangers and Carolina are tied 2-2. Third period action, we've got Columbus and Capitals tied 5-5. And it looks like just a couple minutes into the third period, New York Islanders lead Toronto 4-2. Towards the end of the second period, we got Jets and Coyotes. Jets leading 2-1. Towards the end of the second, we got Detroit and the St. Louis Blues tied up 2-2. In the second period, Kraken and Stars. Kraken lead 3-1. And upcoming tonight, we've got Vegas and Vancouver at 10 p.m. Also at 10, we got Calgary and Anaheim. Okay, so that Tampa Bay Montreal one just went final. So Montreal won 3-2. Also, games that have gone final earlier in the night. Nashville has beaten Buffalo 7-3. Not a hat trick, but they got 2 goals from Evangelista. Evangelista also got 2 assists. Jose Saros got 29 saves. For my Red Wings, let's see who's gotten the scoring in that game. Philip Zadina and Alex Chiasson. Zadina was at even strength. Chiasson was on a power play. Okay, we will take another look back at those at the end of the show and see how everybody is doing. In the meantime, the NHL has a new hockey jersey deal out with Fanatics, and hockey fans are not happy about it. Well, here's why. This is brand spanking new, fresh news today. This is from USA Today, Richard Morin. Nothing riles up fans quite like sports uniform news. In this case, it was the NHL's new uniform partnership with merchandise giant Fanatics that did the trick. The NHL announced a deal that will include Fanatics becoming the league's official on-ice outfitter beginning in the 24-25 season. The 10-year agreement had fans, many of whom have complained about the company's quality for years, up in arms. So why did the NHL decide to switch manufacturing partners? What are the reasons behind fans' outrage at the deal? Here's what we know so far about the league's new uniform manufacturing deal with Fanatics, as well as insight into the public backlash. So why did the NHL partner with Fanatics? The NHL's previous uniform partners, Adidas and Reebok, respectively, decided to let their contracts expire. Adidas announced in July 2022 it would not return as the NHL's uniform supplier. Nike, which already supplies uniforms for the NFL, NBA, and MLB, does not have a huge presence in hockey. The same goes for Under Armour. Fanatics, however, already owns apparel deals with all 4 major North American sports leagues and serves as an official partner with the NCAA, PGA Tour, Formula One, NASCAR, and MLS, among others. They already produce replica NHL jerseys for sale through their website. Starting in 24-25, they will produce the official on-ice versions, and plenty of folks think that isn't such a good idea. So why are fans upset about the NHL's Fanatics deal? Sports fans from all corners have had a bone to pick with Fanatics for years. Complaints about fabric quality, printing errors, and questionable designs are nothing new. Fanatics is growing into a sports retail monopoly. They produce apparel and merchandise for virtually everything, from mainstream sports to pop culture brands and NFTs. Firmly established in the Zeitgeist, a search engine query related to apparel for nearly anything will lead you to Fanatics. The idea of official NHL merchandise in the hands of a retail giant with a questionable reputation is unsettling to hockey fans. One thing to know about hockey fans, jerseys, some call them sweaters, are sacred, especially for fans of the original 6 teams: Blackhawks, Bruins, Canadiens, Maple Leafs, Rangers, Red Wings. Jerseys are more than a logo stitched on some fabric. They are an identity that has persisted through generations of fandom. Hockey fans, perhaps more than fans of any other sports, are sensitive to each detail of their team's uniforms. They know each waist stripe, shoulder yoke, and number trimming down to the thread. As a result, there's a real concern that Fanatics, which already has a reputation for quality control issues and lackluster products, won't live up to expectations. Whoa, what was the reaction to the NHL's Fanatics deal? As if they had to ask. The online reaction was overwhelmingly negative. Have a look at some of the replies to the NHL's original tweet announcing the partnership and see for yourself. But we'll include some highlights below. One Twitter user posted a pair of what appeared to be Fanatics NHL jersey with printing errors. First was a Jared Spurgeon Minnesota Wild jersey with Spurgeon's name spelled out Spurgeno. The owner also apparently got it signed by Spurgeon, who hilariously inscribed the incorrect name in the autograph. That's awesome. What a good sport. The second was a New Jersey Devils jersey with Jack Hughes' name and number on the back and Nico Hishier's number on the sleeves. Oh, come on, failbots. Seriously? All right, here's some tweets. Dropping Clef Bombs says, not sure why people are complaining. Fanatics is fine and cheaper. If it fails, then it fails, and the NHL moves on. Most people are crying. Who are crying aren't even the ones paying for New Jerseys somehow. Anyhow. The passionately optimistic blah 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 at FVC022 says, if this was a 1 to 2 year deal, then sure, this is 10 years with a company with the god-awful track record. That's the one with the with the Jared Spurgeon jersey and the Jack Hughes jersey with the wrong numbers. Oy. Woof. Another user posted a photo of what it looked like a Winnipeg Jets hat with the logo upside down, as well as a Connor Bedard jersey with the name misspelled. These images and others have been previously posted to a Twitter page called Fanatics Sucks. Oh, gosh. Yep, there's the logo upside down. There's the Bedard spelled wrong in addition to the two previous mess-ups. The NHL's official press release said Fanatics will use the same Canadian factory and even some of the same fabrics that Adidas has been using to produce the league's on-ice uniforms. The release said that this would be the case, at least at first, and that Fanatics had hired a team with workers who had decades of experience working on NHL on ice and performance products. That being said, it may be a few years until the NHL's partnership with Fanatics may be fairly judged. Still, there's one thing for certain: the fans aren't on board. Ugh. As we talked about in previous episodes, like the hip-hop and hockey jersey collaboration, like, you know, if you're a fan of a team, you know, you're going to want to go see games. You're going to want to get a jersey. Like, those are two ways to show your fandom. And if this company is going to screw up the jerseys that people buy, that's going to definitely put a damper on their fandom, as well as, you know, on the NHL's jersey sales. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I, for one, don't have high hopes. Okay, so a couple more games to wrap up here, to recap. The Panthers blitzed the Canadiens for 7 goals in the first, winning a 9-5 thriller. The Florida Panthers became the 6th team in NHL history to score 7 first-period goals Thursday night in a wild 9-5 victory over the Montreal Canadiens. The teams tied an NHL record by combining for 10 goals in the opening period. It also was the fastest first 10 goals in an NHL game, with Florida getting the 10th goal at 13:18. Florida scored 6 goals in the second period against Boston on April 5th, 2000. Against Montreal, the Panthers came just shy of tying the franchise record for goals in a game set in '97, going scoreless in the third period. Quote, "I've never seen anything like that. In 25 years, never seen that many goals," Florida coach Paul Maurice said. Quote, "There were more goals than chances to score, and that is a rarity. All I can say is that it has affected the game for both teams, and I do not think anything on video is useful to the game of hockey. It was almost like Twilight Zone. Every puck went in." Carter Verhaeghe scored twice in the first period, and the Panthers also got goals from Aaron Ekblad, Colin White, Gustav Forsling, Ryan Lornberg, and Sam Reinhart to take a 7-3 lead after one. Florida then padded its leads with goals from Ekblad and Matthew Tkachuk in the second period. Wow. Panthers are just the first NHL team to score 7 goals in the first period since the Hartford Whalers on October 19th, 1985. Isn't that the Back to the Future day? It kind of rings a bell. Matthew Tkachuk, if you came 30 minutes late, you missed it. We hope people did not get stuck in traffic. We definitely have some things to clean up, but a win is a win. We did score a ton of goals, and so we did a lot of good things as well. Mike Matheson, Michael Pezzetta, Rem Pitlick, Anthony Richard, and Raphael Harvey Pinard also scored for Montreal. Sergei Bobrovsky made 24 saves for Florida, which pulled within 3 points of the final wildcard spot. Panthers are 4-0-1 in their past 5. Big win and one of the wildest games I've ever been a part of, Verhaeghe said. We found a way, and it turned out to be a good one. No kidding. Well, the offensive party continued in New York, with the Rangers scoring a franchise record 6 goals in the first period en route to a win. Defenseman Condre Miller had 2 goals and 2 assists in the New York Rangers' 6-goal first period. Yaroslav Halak made 22 saves for his first shutout of the season, and the Rangers beat the Nashville Predators 7-0 on Sunday night. Artemi Panarin had a goal and 2 assists in the opening period, and Philip Chytil, Mika Zibanejad, Tyler Mott, and Chris Kreider also scored to help New York cruise to the 4th straight home win and second shutout in 2 days. The Rangers beat Pittsburgh 6-0 on Saturday, after also beating the Penguins on Thursday and Washington on Tuesday. Rangers scored 6 times in their first 8 shots, chasing Nashville starting goalie Kevin Lanikin after he gave up 4 goals on 5 shots. He was replaced by Jose Saros. Condre Miller became the first defenseman in franchise history with 4 points in a single period, as the Rangers led 6-0 less than 14 minutes in. The avalanche of early goals tied the franchise record for the most in a first period, most recently achieved on December 15th, 1999, in an 8-3 home win over Los Angeles. That was pretty fun, Miller said. The puck was finding me. Halak improved to 8-2-2 in his past 12 starts as the 37-year-old Slovak-born goalie secured his 53rd career shutout, 3rd most among active netminders, behind Marc-Andre Fleury and Jonathan Quick. It was a team effort from the drop of the puck until the end, Halak said. Last 2 games, yesterday and today, we did a really good job playing for 60 minutes, and it paid off. Halak, who has 294 career wins with 7 NHL teams, was especially pleased with his first shutout as a Ranger. His family, including 6-year-old son Nathan, who is also goalie, were in attendance in Madison Square Garden. It's more special when they are in the stands, Halak said. Feels great to get a win and even more special to get a shutout. Our defense, even though we had a big lead, they were blocking shots. Rangers became just the 6th team in NHL history with back-to-back shutouts while scoring 6 or more goals. The Rangers had 3 straight 6-0 shutouts from February 4th to 10th back in 1973. Rangers coach Gerard Gallant said, I thought our guys did an excellent job regarding his team's ability to stay focused with a 6-goal lead after 1 period. They played the game the right way. Predators coach John Hines says, it's humbling to get beat 7-0. It's something we can learn from, and we will. Tonight just wasn't good enough. Panarin added his 23rd goal, fastest 5 goals to start a game in franchise history. Panarin has points in 9 of his past 11 games. Zibanejad, who had a goal and 2 assists in Saturday's rout of the Penguins, also assisted on Panarin's goal, has 9 points in his past 4 games, and 28 points in his past 21 contests, including 15 goals. Kreider, when increasing the lead to 7-0, he got his 32nd goal of the season and his 261st of his career, moving the Rangers forward within 1 goal of Vic Hadfield for 5th place on the Rangers' all-time list. So, there you go. All right. Lastly, we got some college hockey to wrap up with. And then we'll be getting out of here for the night already. Holy crap. Time flies. Actually, we're going to do one more check of the scores here. in the meantime, okay, end of overtime. Looks like the Blue Jackets have beaten the Capitals 7-6 in the third period with 6 minutes left to go, thereabouts. The Islanders are still beating the Maple Leafs 5-2. At the end of 2, Jets lead the Coyotes 2-1. At the end of 2, the Blues and the Red Wings are still tied at 2. In the second period, with about 5 minutes to go, Kraken lead the Stars 3-1. And still coming up tonight, Vegas and Vancouver, and Calgary and Anaheim. Both games starting at 10 o'clock. Okay, as for games that have gone final, Flyers beat the Panthers 6-3. Bruins beat the Senators 2-1. Montreal beat Tampa Bay 3-2, and Minnesota beat New Jersey 2-1. And Carolina beat New York Rangers 3-2. Oh, and Nashville beat the Buffalo Sabres 7-3. Oh, yep, there it is. There's the final. Columbus beating the Washington Capitals 7-6 in overtime. Gaudreau got 2 assists for Columbus. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, we got some college hockey coming up. They just did a selection Sunday for the men's tournament this past Sunday. 16 teams. They'll get down to the Frozen Four. Frozen Four is taking place at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay. Or in Tampa, where the Tampa Bay Lightning play. National semifinals are April 6th. National championship game April 8th. Every game of the tournament is either going to be on ESPN2, ESPNU, or ESPN News, and available to stream on the ESPN app. Real quick, the teams, just going to run them down. We can talk more next week. Denver, Boston University, Western Michigan, Cornell, Minnesota, St. Cloud State, Minnesota State, Canisius, Quinnipiac, Harvard, Ohio State, Merrimack, Michigan, Penn State, Michigan Tech, and Colgate. So, there's your 16 teams vying for the men's NCAA hockey tournament championship. And while we're at it, the women's NCAA hockey title and their Frozen Four just wrapped up with Wisconsin upsetting Ohio State. Wisconsin upset number 1 seed Ohio State in the NCAA hockey national title game in Duluth, Minnesota on Sunday, capturing an unprecedented 7th championship at the Women's Frozen Four with a 1-0 victory. The Badgers' 7th national title broke a tie with Minnesota for the most ever by a women's hockey program in the Frozen Four. Coach Mark Johnson has been behind the Badgers bench for 19 years. Johnson says, "I felt in the last month we've been in a good space, playing very well. The group figured out things about 6 weeks ago, got everyone on the same page. I'm happy for them. It was struggles at times, but it was difficult. But through it all, they ended up getting through the end, and now they'll have memories that'll last a lifetime." Wisconsin was 26-1-1 entering the third period with a lead. Ohio State had not been shut out all season and was last blanked on January 21st, 2022, stretch of 57 games. The low-scoring result in the title game was a surprise, given that Ohio State, second, and Wisconsin, third, were two of the top three scoring teams in Division I this season. Let's see. Ohio State was trying to become the fourth straight NCAA Division I champ to win his second consecutive title. They would have joined Minnesota in 15-16, Clarkson in 17-18, and Wisconsin in 19 and 21, the 20 season being canceled, were the others. The league they're in, the WCHA, continued to dominate the women's Frozen Four. Teams from that conference have gone 19 of 22 in the Frozen Four. Clarkson, gotcha, okay. Winning 19 of 22 titles, Frozen Four titles. The other three were won by Clarkson from the ECAC. So, all right. And there's the buzzer. There's the horn. That means it's time to wrap it up. All right, you guys, it's been a great night. I'll be back next week, and we will catch you then. In the meantime, stay out of the penalty box, don't get checked into the boards, and protect your 5-hole. And we will see you next week.